taxes, inflation, and the breakdown of the family are causing us to fall behind. We have the lowest net worth in the United States, and I'm sure those numbers cross the border as well.
Some people get the disability tax credit and they don't open the registered disability savings plan, and that's where the government puts in all the money of grants and bonds for a person with a disability who has done all the steps. Some people don't do all the steps.
Well, we do all the steps because we're the Morning Vibe. Good morning. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020. No, I did it wrong yet. 2018 Innovation Award winner and 2020 Best Podcast News Award, given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. That's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as always, I'd like to say, oh, you know what? I forgot something. And being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. So as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. We're broadcasting live on October 25th, the last Friday in October. So in a little over a week's time, October is done, and there's only 2 months left in what they call 2024. So it's coming to an end. It's coming to an end. So yes, Morning Vibe co-host Ryan Knight. He's not going to be with us today and probably won't be with us Monday because his organization will be hosting a conference up in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. But I will be broadcasting. So I will be here on Monday. I think Monday will probably be like an open, open book Monday. So anything you want to chat about on Monday, come on in. We'll have a conversation about it. But let's get some things out of the way. First things first, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Get us, I know we're over 1,580 subscribers. Now we want to get to 1,590 subscribers. So let's push it there. Also follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of, please feel free to email me, dr.vibe@thedr.com. And always join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Please email me at dr.vibe@thedr.com. Can't forget also, Indie Soup Media, independent content creators platform with over 40 independent content creators, me being one of them. You can catch replays of this epic conversation and another show I do primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala, edited like 1 hour versions you can catch on that platform. I know it's like probably got 19,000 subscribers on their YouTube channel in the first 6-7 months. So please feel free to support because we support. Let's bring her up. She's here to rock the world and rock your house. Minnie on cam, what's going on?
It's okay.
Good. What's been going on in your world?
A lot of disability stuff.
Well, that's why you're here, to share what's going on in the world from that community. So I know there's some things you want to chat with, but just what's going on with you in general. Any progress with any area?
Well, define progress, because we closed opened feedback for the Canada Disability Benefit from the Government of Canada, and there may or may not be an election coming. Like British Columbia had their election for their premier. We're still living below the poverty line. And then CBC released the research results from Wellesley Institute for Thriving with a Disability, because it's part of their series of Thriving in the City. And then they realized when they're doing the Thriving with the City, different researches of single adults and seniors and things, they forgot disability, so they added disability last. And it's only because I was on their webinar to review the results this week, and then I was a participant in the research study. And then because of the feedback they were getting from it, media wanted to do stories on it. And I volunteered because most of these stories don't have people of color, which is what I said when I replied to volunteer. But I don't necessarily share my real name everywhere because I wouldn't with the CBC News. They picked somebody else. And I'm happy to say they picked a person of color in the story, but it's still, we're still trying to share people disability stories. Which we'll try, like this week is Invisible Disability Week. I did another research focus group for episodic disabilities with Realize Canada. We're still fighting the same thing of being heard and being seen and being respected and getting individualized care because we have a disability, and because we're fighting being medicalized where we have to be fixed, or we're fighting institutions. Like the way society treats people with a disability, there's 1.3 billion people with a disability in the world, but for some reason they treat us as disposable, as if we can just, take us off the factory line and start over again. You can't do that with people. You work with what you have as a person. We're not like reptiles when if your hatchlings hatch and something's defective with them that you kill them. Like that's what animals do, but we're people. So it's the progress is sometimes it doesn't feel like there's any progress. And then, oh yeah, I live with the disability. So this week I did my MRI brain scan for my multiple sclerosis follow-up. Had to have a contrast dye. The lady either poked me too many times or she couldn't find my vein, but because I'm lying down, I couldn't see anything. I didn't notice it until after I took the bandage off. Then I did more follow-up blood work just to see how my body's reacting to my treatment for multiple sclerosis. So it's just living with a disability. I can't say like it's better or worse. It's just living with it. And I'm just more educated about the history of disability now before because of different things I've participated in. And I'm a little bit more angry because it's been going on since the 1700s and we haven't really made any huge progress of feeling inclusive with people with disability.
So you know what? I'm actually going to pull this up and I'm going to see if I can zoom in a bit because it shows some just a contrast to Toronto costs versus Mississauga costs. So for a lot of people who don't live in the GTA area, this one won't be relevant, but Mississauga is basically now it's a suburb, a little bit west of this main Toronto area, but the difference in costs, and this will be relevant mostly to people who live in Toronto, it is crazy.
I think Ontario will understand that because depending where you are in Ontario, like I learned there's more people on ODSP in Kingston, Ontario.
Okay. So can people see that okay on the screen? Minnie, can you see that all right? Or do we
need I see it.
Okay. So I'm just looking at it. So, Mrs. Toronto with housing and housing's pretty much the same. Transportation's a little bit more expensive. Food, nutrition, physical activity, there's quite a difference. I'm trying to see where the big gap. Personal care, there's a gap. And healthcare, there's a big gap. And saving for the future. Oh, so sorry, this is in Mississauga. Sorry. This is Mississauga numbers. Sorry. But yeah, the gap is crazy. So they're saying Mississauga is 39% more expensive than, wow. If you're living without a disability in Mississauga compared to with a disability, 39% difference in Mississauga. Wow. That's crazy. 39%. And then the fact that was brought up during the article, and you mentioned too, and I found it interesting that those with a disability retire earlier.
Yeah.
And obviously on the
but we're not retiring early by choice. We're retiring early because of our disability.
Right. And also too, probably you're not paid probably the same as a person with.
No, that income pay gap is wider than gender. Like so male and female income gap and then disability, we're below women.
Right. Right. And there's already
and then add in women, disabled, person of color,
Mhm.
less.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, I also want to share. You had written a letter, and last time you were on, you shared it with us, and also well, before we came on to, you shared a letter from feminist organizations in Canada in regards to this issue, and I'd like to just share it with our audience because it seems it seems that they took your blueprint and I'll go, did you? Because when I scroll down, is your signature at the bottom? But no, it isn't. But so this letter is to the Honorable Chrystia Freeland, who's the Minister of Finance and Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamal Khera, Minister of Diversity, Inclusion, and Persons with Disabilities, the Honorable Marcy Ian, Minister for Women and Gender Equality for Youth. You know, so there's a
I mean,
quote.
I wrote 2 of those people for my letter. It's yeah, like there's commonalities in everybody with a disability that's below the poverty line out of the 8 million Canadians, because the system is equally making us suffer. Like
Right.
they're not equally making us thrive, but they're definitely equally making us suffer.
Right. And at the before this letter gets into the main body, there's a quote: "Living well almost seems like a standard that's so far above what is available to people with disabilities and chronic illnesses. I barely even know what that means. We're just kind of surviving." What do you think of that quote? Well said, well written.
Yes, before I decided to take charge of my finances. So like before I woke up to, I have no money in retirement. I'm only on ODSP. ODSP was a $1,169 a month. My rent goes up every year with the rent guideline for the landlord and tenant board. I knew the amount of money I had from disability was going to run out. And the longer it's not matching all of my expenses, my basic expenses, that I could risk being homeless.
Right.
Which it's still a thing for a lot of people. If ODSP is their only source of income and then they live in market rent automatically goes up. It's supposed to go up 2.5%, but my landlord asked for 3.5% because they asked for the above guideline increase. It's not approved yet, but they requested it. Even though they applied for it's not approved, they automatically said, hey, to stay here, pay the above guideline increase. And then if they don't get it approved, the money I pay more to keep living here goes into my landlord's accounting file for me on their ledger that I have a credit towards my rent. And then because it's my rent, I'm not really worried that my landlord has a credit of me paying my rent over above $994 next year. I'm going to leave it there because it's already paid for a future.
Right. So I'm looking at the part of this letter that was written by this individual saying, "We echo the concerns from the disability community that the proposed Canada Disability Benefit provides too little for too few." There's 3 points here. The $200 monthly benefit amount, maximum $2,400 a year, is barely 1/10 of the amount recommended by numerous experts to lift people out of poverty. And that's without accounting for the extraordinary costs of living with disability. Number 2 point, against the recommendations of advocates, the disability tax credit, notorious for its stringent eligibility criteria and complicated application process, will be a gateway to the benefit. And then throughout consultation, disabled people stress the utmost importance to ensuring no social assistance clawbacks with the introduction of the CDB, the Canada Disability Benefit. However, most provinces and territories still have not formally committed to maintain the same level of social assistance to recipients once they start receiving the benefit. Any comments on those things?
We did talk about it. Remember when you asked me if I wanted to meet Kamala Kern? And I
Yeah.
said no? It's because of that. She really believes that's the best thing in the entire world. You read it, is it?
Okay. So is this a responsibility of the provincial, federal, local? Like when we're talking about money, the money aspect, is it a federal responsibility, provincial responsibility? Who is responsible? Or are they ping-ponging it back and forth?
I believe it's all of them.
Right.
But when you talk to them, they pass the buck between all three of them. Nobody
Right.
takes responsibility for any of it.
Got it.
Like the guy at the grocery store that's running for city council or mayor, whatever, I lost it on him. And he's like, oh, it's not my responsibility. It's not my division. It's the premier. But Doug Ford fully will stand up there and say that people with a disability have to get a job. But there's so many people with a disability that the employer does not accommodate them. Then if the employer does, some employers won't accommodate people with a disability because they believe it's too expensive, but they never actually put those things in place to actually see if it's more expensive. Or they say we're an equal opportunity employer. Then you go to the interview. Do you need disability accommodations? Do you disclose you need disability accommodations? Do you disclose you have a disability? Because sometimes the minute you disclose something in a job interview, they're not hiring you. They throw out your resume the second you said those words. There's
Right.
some words that you say in a job interview that automatically do not get you moved on to the next interview.
Right.
I've seen it happen. I literally seen it happen. I said something and the lady's like, you know what? I don't think this is right for you. Her mood changed instantly right in front of me.
Got it. Got it.
And then, yeah, the federal government, they know there's certain programs that they offer federally, but they make the barrier with the disability tax credit. And not everybody has a doctor who fills out their forms. We already know we have a doctor shortage across the country for people who need primary care, where they were trying to debate if healthy people who have their primary doctor should give up their primary doctor because they're healthy for the people that are not exactly healthy as them. So they have primary health care. But if they do that to people, to healthy people, they give up your doctor and you love your doctor. And then all of a sudden your doctor's like, hey, you're too healthy. I have to deroster you and hope you find it on your own. Good luck.
Right. Got it.
Or they send you referrals to all the private clinics that charge $3,000 a year, up to $10,000 a year, which is what my doctor did. She sent a mass email saying that she has to think about derostering patients. I lost my mind because I'm like, I need you to fill out every disability form
Got it.
ever for the rest of my life, from my driver's license to housing to fighting the landlord to getting accommodations at a job. If I go through becoming a financial advisor, writing all those exams, every time I sit for an exam, I need disability accommodations.
Right.
So I wish just people just agreed that we help everybody equally, regardless of their situations, without questioning, are you really disabled? I hate when people tell me that.
Right.
I went in for my MRI. The nurse is there escorting another patient. I came out because my MRI, luckily, I was able to lie still, stay still, 20 minutes, done. I was out. Then she's like, oh, yeah, you look good. After I said I have multiple sclerosis, she is a nurse. You would think a nurse would have some remote idea that multiple sclerosis is the most debilitating thing that's slowly progressing for me. For a decade. Every year, I do an MRI scan and lie in this machine from 20 to an hour of my time.
Got it.
Anywhere from 9 o'clock, not even 9 o'clock in the morning, because it's 24 hours. They can book that appointment. And then I have to figure out how to get there, how to come back home. Do I get Burger King? Text my mom. My mom's not driving me to this appointment.
Right.
My dad's not driving me to this appointment.
In the disability community, is there are the organizations collaborating in regards to moving positive movement, or are there different silos? Because one of the things,
when you scroll down on that letter that you're reading, it says all the organizations that collectively made that letter.
yes,
And then part of one of my letters, March of Dimes did a focus group to collectively create the letter. They taught us what was happening with the proposal of the disability benefit, what's going to be in the policy, what the regulation that is potentially going to be. Then we gave our feedback. And then from the last time I was here and the time before that, I voiced in my feedback. The big thing about it that I hate is I'm a single person now. if I become a couple, so I go find somebody romantically involved and then we decide to move in together, me moving in with another person affects my disability. It instantly becomes their responsibility to 100% take care of me financially forever and ever, whether we're common law or if we're legally married. And they don't, like, ODSP sees my common law partner as my primary 100% partner after 3 months versus the federal government sees that after 2 years. Like, we have to do an interview. They have to bring his bank accounts. He has to bring all of his records. They check his credit report. They check his tax return. They check his assets with the registry for transportation to see if he has a vehicle in his name. They check everything. So the whole thing is there are organizations that are fighting against policy changes, trying to improve disability. Right now, we're doing the Double the Rates campaign for doubling ODSP because $1,368 a month doesn't actually do anything when the average rent cost is $2,500 for Ontario and it's more in Toronto. And then you just saw the stats for Mississauga. Like, we know the cost of living is higher, and we know the cost of living is 20 to 40% higher for a person with a disability. And then they act like we are supposed to solve that problem ourselves. But then you tell us we're not desirable because we have a disability, and then we don't get included. We're excluded because the whole history of disability from putting people in medical institutions, then acting like you can be fixed. The amount of people with a disability that got a lobotomy that are more incapacitated than if you left them the way they are and just gave them a healthy environment to thrive around other people to socialize, that could have made them better. But no, you're like, oh, let's try to fix you. So they stick a needle in your eye and hit your brain. That is what we did in history with people. And no, it hasn't really gotten any better because we merged. And then the annoying part of these organizations, so like with me who wants to thrive with a disability, knowing that I have some ability to work and run my own business and earn my own income, they tell me don't make too much money. But we just saw the numbers that I have to make roughly $125,000 a year to support my disability right now. But you're telling me to keep my income below the limit so I can access disability benefits that keep me in poverty and then limit my assets below $150,000. I have to pick one. I can't follow two masters. I have to pick poverty or I thrive on my own and hope I make it.
Okay. So Dr. Tachi says there are so many layers to this that many of us don't know. Then Fitness IQ says, indeed, Dr. Tachi. And then Fitness IQ Cam says, LOL. Find you a rich one. And then she says, I'm just joking, by the way. And then Fitness IQ says it's very interesting on how different the time frame status of common law partner within different departments. So it seems that from what you're saying, and it's not surprising, especially when we come to government, they have different, what's the word? Guidelines.
Definitions? Yeah.
Guidelines and definitions for even just simple. So if they have different definitions for that, then you can imagine we can imagine how challenging it is just for other areas.
Yeah. Like how Wayne talks about personal finance for the average Canadian family. Not one of his stats is people of disability. Then I bring in people of disability. It's not the same because there's 1 million people on Ontario Disability Support Program. Between Ontario Works and ODSP, combine those stats, and then they publish those stats every quarter. So they posted July's, and then it went down the pre-April, like it goes up and down by like 2,000, 3,000 people of who's on it, who's not on it. And that depends on each household, each individual household, how that works. But if people don't practice the habit of saving and investing their money, regardless of what's going on, they don't have a chance in hell to come off of assistance. And then the working families that age and get older and become disabled and then have children who become adults who are still disabled, that sandwich gap, nobody's helping anybody. So we talk about the families that are helping their aging parents, then they're helping themselves and they're helping their children. There's also a gap of people that have parent with a disability, child with a disability, grandchild with a disability. Nobody's being helped in that triangle of family that are supposed to help each other financially. And then they talk about bank of mom and dad. Bank of mom and dad don't think, oh, they need to help me buy a house. I think I could do it by myself.
Well, again, yeah, because even those without a disability, kids leaning on their parents to get a house or get provided down payment. If you look I'm just looking at the area of those have disability and it's generational. That is just, and I'm not just thinking about the financial, but the trauma generational that impacts day-to-day existence as a family, employment, living with it just seems to be such a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
And
it gets worse.
Yeah, Fitness IQ Cam says, yeah, the habit of saving and investing needs to be pushed more. I agree that it needs to be pushed more on everyone, or everyone is toast. I believe, and I think it's good to have the knowledge. Nothing against what you're saying, Fitness IQ Cam, but I think the challenge is it also has to be aligned with providing the opportunities financially to save and invest more. Because it's good to have that knowledge, but it would also be great if you be able to increase your income, because if people are surviving, many people are just surviving at the best time, getting the educational knowledge, nothing against that, but also there also be a need to create more income because prices ain't going down. So for example, everyone talks about how, inflation is lowering. It's lowering, but it ain't going backwards like to where it was. So it hits a floor. Everything is still going up, but just going up at a slower rate. And then in comparison, our people's average incomes going up at the same rate as inflation. Not usually.
Yeah, so there was someone that was talking about with AI coming in and reinventing jobs. They said it will take us almost 2 generations to reinvent jobs to compete with AI.
Hey, in the next few years, I was listening to a commentator the other day saying that what you'll see sooner, you'll see AI robots in the home.
Yeah, I don't want one. I thought about it. I watched iRobot. I don't want one. I don't want one looking at me sleep. No, thank you. It's okay.
And that's another conversation piece. So from yourself and just seeing what impact is AI having on the disability community in any area?
Access to technology is the first one. How many of them have access to actual technology to access AI, then practice using AI? The only reason I'm able to use, I saw how some of my notes, I use ChatGPT to format the show because I didn't have anything. I was too busy living with my disability, managing my appointments, making sure all my appointments are done, making sure I was getting paid from the focus groups that offered to pay an honorarium, making sure the honorarium was paid in cash and not a gift card because I hate getting gift cards. So the access technology, for me, my budget from Ontario Disability Support Program, it pays my internet access, but it doesn't just pay my internet access of the basic internet package. I have 1.5 gigabyte of upload or download in my internet package for $141.25 a month. And 80% of that is a business expense for me. So with people having access to technology, yeah, they could access it, but how fast is their computer? Do they need to update their computer? Do they need to make sure there's no viruses or stuff on their computer? Because some people will have a technology, but it's so slow, it's not keeping up with what they need to access AI or logging into My Benefits for reporting their income or talking to their caseworker at the Ontario Disability Support Program, because they made that digital. They made it digital, but they didn't increase the budget in ODSP to account for paying access for internet so you can access it. And then Rogers comes in to save the day with if you're on ODSP, we'll give you an internet package, but then they're turning around jacking up prices on other devices for people that have Rogers. So corporations come in, yes, they swoop in and make their money, they make their profits trying to help low income families, whether it's a cell phone program or an internet program, but they find another way to make their profits. Like when I order groceries, I complained about my mobility issues when some drivers come in and just drop my groceries right at because they're too lazy to pick them all up and put them in the place that I need them to be. And they offer me the mobility discount, $5 off all my orders, but it's still $5 catch up on somewhere else on my bill.
Right.
So I'm not saving money by getting discounts in certain areas for having a disability.
So Fitness IQ says, I guess we forgot about iRobot. And also she says, I'm gonna watch that this weekend, actually. So you become a film critic. All right, very nice. Another ability that you have. It just really perplexes me that it just seems like it's like shuffle, 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 shuffle. And I had mentioned to you earlier about forward movement. It just seems more shuffling than forward movement.
Yeah, I said that in the beginning. I'm like, yes, as far as I know, my disability is fine. But then I'll find out, I do my sleep study follow-up on Monday. Then I have to go to my family doctor for a follow-up. Then I do my neurologist follow-up. So I do 3 follow-ups before the end of the year. Then I have to do blood work. So they keep sending me my prescriptions for my multiple sclerosis. That's more follow-up. Then, oh yeah, we're still doing follow-up when I had to do my mental health check-in in May.
I want to go back though. If you had some really interesting comments in regards to the whole AI thing. How can AI help the disabled community from your lens?
So like how people that are hard of hearing, instead of them like how they can't hear their phone ring, they need flashing lights. So like that. And if their fire alarm goes off, they can't hear the fire alarm go off. They need their unit needs to have a flashing light for the fire alarm. Like they have extra devices that let them know it's an emergency. But disabled people are also left behind in emergencies. So it's the way that they, like hospitals, when they evacuate people and they try to triage people based on how sick are they. And then when the fire department, like here, like we have to, like I have to tell my building, do I need disability accommodations in case of a fire? Like I have to update it every couple of years when they do it. It doesn't necessarily they'll actually catch me in time. Like that, like you're always wondering, are you excluded? Are you heard? Did they follow up? Do they know I need this thing? Like I met someone who used to work in an office for her job as a project manager, but because of her disability now, she can't be in office lights because the fluorescent lights give her problems. But she like when you hear her talk about her, she's a really good project person. The way she's able to organize stuff in the disability community, bring up ideas, how we can all work together in collaboration. But a job is not hiring her for that skill. And then to get them to say, use that skill as self-employment, it's too hard for them. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to market. They don't know because the level of executive function it takes to be self-employed versus an employee, they're two different skills. And then depending on your disability, depending on how you process information and the way you execute activities or tasks, it's a lot for some people. Like I'm able to remember half my appointments from my friend when she calls me because her memory problems, short-term memories declining, and then her disability is declining. And she used to actively work 4 jobs. And now she's not working at all because of her disability. So I see it happening around me because when I was on disability, people were like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. I'm like, no, I was never fine. It just, you weren't there when I was psychotic in the hospital being evaluated.
Then, so Fitness said QCAS is not a film critic watching what they predicted decades ago. Gotcha. Yeah, this is Yeah, I'm very curious to see how like AI in general, but based on this conversation, how it's going to impact the disabled community, how
Well,
they can use it.
the disabled community that has lower income won't be able to access AI first.
Right. Right.
And any accommodations they can give people with a disability with AI so they can be employed won't happen first either.
Gotcha. 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 Good morning, Shirley. How are you? Good to see you. Make sure you watch us on the replay 100%. And yeah, this is I want to get back. I don't know if I got clear understanding from you about, is the community a united one?
No.
Okay,
No.
why not in your lens? What do you, well, okay, let me rephrase that. What do you feel is holding them back from being a united community? Because to me, again, I compare it to I have the thought that the African Canadian community, I don't use the word community. I say it's neighborhoods. There's silos. Is that the same with the disabled community? There are silos? Because yes, you did mention that letter. It's a whole bunch of organizations. Is that common that they're together on things like the initiatives?
No. So, I think how I say no as if you know the details of it. So like race and disability I brought it up to them. I said, I'm tired of going to all the organizations for all the meetings. And I said, why can't you guys merge? So I'm not running around to all the different organizations. Plus, running around all the different organizations is how I access almost $1,000 this year in honorariums and doing focus groups as a person with a disability. Yeah, I'm happy for the money. Thank you. But I'm exhausted. That's literally what I told them. And it's because they niche down too much. They specialize too much. So there's disability organizations for autism, intellectual disabilities, then there's invisible disabilities, then there's LGBTQ people with a disabilities, then there's BIPOC people with a disability, then there's Muslim people with a disability. Like there's too many flavors. Best way to describe it, because 31 flavors. I remember I only get vanilla. I'm not even looking at the other ice cream flavors when I go buy ice cream. And then apparently my mom likes rum and raisin when I went to go get vanilla, and she was upset. So I gave her my ice cream because it was 3 cones, the one at Niagara Falls. Yeah, it's that. There's just too much separation for too many things where they separate. And then of course the organization politics of board members and employees, because they service me as me being their client, but they talk to the board, they talk to the budget, they talk to legal, they talk to accounting. They have too many people they check into before they decide to service me. So like with one of the organizations that said they could pay me cash only if I invoice them and gave them my bank account, I go, you can't just log into your account and click e-transfer and type my email address in and send me the money? They wouldn't do it. And then other organizations, I could easily get that done. They're like, what email address you use for email transfer? And that's it. There's no this extra step that I go find a software to create an invoice to send it to them or use a template in Google Sheets, then give them my bank account so they can deposit the money. Like some organizations make it too complicated to service the marginalized communities that they claim to help because they create the barrier.
That's what I was interested to hear, if you were going to share that. There's bureaucracy within these organizations, and then there's the next level of bureaucracy dealing
a
with
lot. Where next year, I don't think I'll be as active as I am right now this year because it's too exhausting. I have to focus on myself, and then I have to focus on developing my coaching business because I memorized the entire policy of Ontario Disability Support Program, which was in our notes of which sections of the policy I can cover to educate people about the policy, so that more people know you don't have to agree to the policy that dictates your life. I'm not having the government tell me that if I get married, oh yeah, our assets are below $50,000. I want to be in a position where I'm in a relationship and I'm merging with this person and he's becoming part of my life, that we can both say, yes, no problem. We can take care of my disability on our own. And to do that, I need a certain amount of income in my bank account. And it's down to the dollar. I know exactly what needs to be in there, where I have a fighting chance of managing my own disability by myself and me and my doctors. Because like every time I go into my doctor and they give me a prescription, I'm worried, will ODSP cover it? Like the blood work, $13 should have been paid on my blood work for something for the multiple sclerosis medication that my neurologist didn't tell me. So now I have to go to my neurologist and say like, hey, when you order the blood work, can you make sure that it's covered by OHIP or like the whatever insurance program is? So I'm not surprised to go pay $13 for a blood test that I thought I didn't have to be paying for. Because people with a regular job, regular employee insurance, they don't worry about those stuff.
100%.
I see it all the time when I go pick up my prescriptions and people are paying for their prescriptions and like, oh, I have this insurance and here you go. They instantly have a card, they instantly have their insurance and they say walk away like, but I'm there pleading and bargaining and trying to make a deal to get my stuff covered. And nobody behind me is trying to offer to pay anything.
Got you. It's another version of the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
Basically. All right. What is coming up for you in the next little while?
Doctor's appointments.
Other than that, are any more efforts at advocacy?
No, I don't think so. Because I mean, ODSP Action Coalition, they're doing the raise the rates for Ontario Disabilities Program, but I don't want to go to Queen's Park and protest.
Right.
Because now some of the people that actually actively protest in the streets block traffic where they're risking being arrested. I can't afford to be picked first. I just can't. I need to stay home. I'll write my letter to my Christian Wong Tam, Marcy. I'll keep writing them a letter because they like eventually somebody in office has to understand they're not helping nobody but themselves.
Then as we start winding it down, then what would be your call to action for these organizations who you feel are very bureaucratic? What would your call to action in regards to serving their clientele properly?
Well, right now we're gearing up. We're doomsday prepping for an election. Best way to describe it. Doug Ford is trying to promise $200 for people when he can use that $200 and put it into ODSP and increase it for people on disability instead of telling us to go get a job. And then I learned about aporophobia, where people have a fear of poor people. You're one paycheck away from being one of us. And I'm going to charge you a lot of money to help you navigate the system. Because my knowledge is too valuable. My specialty is too valuable. If you didn't get your insurance, beef up your emergency fund, actually have enough jobs to take care of you and your family, and then, oh yeah, something happens to you, become disabled, and now you're trying to scramble through the system, I'm not the first eagerly let me help you person. Consultations are in the price range of $150 to $300, and it may go up in price depending on how much knowledge and skills I develop. That because this has been there. Like how bad the policy is for the social safety net has always been there. People are just focusing on the false narrative, the isolation, the stigma. Like you really want, if you have a child and they become disabled and they become an outcast, and just let that happen. Like, because that could happen to that could be your grandchildren. It could be the next baby that you're having right now. It could be your husband. Like one lady posted that, oh, her husband got electrocuted. Now he's blind. That can happen to almost anybody. Where you go into work today and then, oh, you get the phone call, they're in the hospital, and then now they go through rehab and physio and all those things. And then they're no longer producing the income for the lifestyle you're accustomed to. That can happen to any one of these hardworking, medium household income families just because something happens or a disability manifests early. Like all the long COVID people, everyone who's getting symptoms of long COVID, studies show that multiple sclerosis linked to Epstein-Barr. Epstein-Barr is in the family of mono. I may have had mono as a teenager. Now I have multiple sclerosis because I had an infection when I was younger. Now I have multiple sclerosis. With COVID now, we don't know if COVID is going to develop another future autoimmune disease in the future. We're just waiting to see which generation is going to get that. So yeah, like read the policies. They're all on the government websites. They're all there. March of Dimes has their reports. Government Canada has their reports. Like every disability organization out there has their reports and has their things of what we're fighting for. Like every one of them. Anytime you see people picketing, I'm pretty certain there's somebody in the picket line who's on social assistance. Because I noticed that when I introduce myself as someone who's advocating for people with disabilities, the amount of people that come forward to say I have a disability too. They just need someone to say, I see you and I'm here. So that part right there.
Okay.
For 1.3 billion people with a disability around the world, the rest of you need to help us.
I think we'll end it off right there. Thank you so much for taking time out of your positive, productive schedule to share with us. And if you want to get a hold of Minnie on Cam, there's her YouTube link, and it's also in the comments on most of the platforms you're watching this live or on the replay. I got another comment here. Oh, well, there's a question. Sure, there's a question. I'm working on a project with my company to provide cleaning services for free. Do you think this project would add value to your community?
It would, but then you have to make money. There's either you exchange, you lose your energy, your physical energy, or you lose your financial energy.
Okay.
Like, yes, people with disabilities need people to help them clean and errands and all the things that they need for executive function. But if you providing that service gets burnt out because it's free, resentment likes to sneak in right after.
So
Because
go ahead.
that's not going to buy you groceries. That service is not going to buy you transportation. It's not going to buy you. We just went through all the categories of person with a disability and person without a disability have to pay for.
Right.
Like, yes, it's great. Make these businesses, make these services that help people. But yet you have to figure out what is going to still make sure you're not homeless or your transportation living in your car. Like, yeah, it's
Well, sure. Yeah.
Providing services has to look at the financial aspect all of the time.
So Shirley, what I'm going to say is this: if you have a follow-up comment, put it in pretty quick because we're going to be shutting it down in a few moments. Or you can reach out to me and I can give you Minnie's contact information, her email address, and you can continue the conversation offline. All right. So Minnie, as always, I want to say, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace and thank you for taking the time to hang out with us again once a month. Look forward to hearing from you soon. And by the way, well, the next time you come on, there'll be a new president of the United States. So I know you're going to have some thoughts on how that's going to impact your community. Okay, so Shirley says, sure, I will. Thank you. All right, so Shirley may want to continue the conversation offline with you if that you're cool with that. All right, and again, love the microphone. Love the microphone. All right. All right, everybody, that is it. We is done today. Another epic conversation done. And as usually, Minnie rocked the house. Also, I want to say thank you to the McMillan Group for liking the conversation on Facebook. I appreciate that. And that's not taken for granted. We got another comment here. Oh, what are the financial implications of a disabled company, benefits, etc.? Minnie, do you want to come back on and address that, or should we have Wayne Harris come talk to me? You want to come back on? Give me a thumbs up in the green room if you want to come back on. Okay. All right. Minnie is back. So Ray has a question. What are the financial implications of a disabled company, benefits, etc.? What do you know?
Okay. I need more. filler. I need more context because it's
Okay.
company as in who, like,
So Ray,
and then benefits as in who the benefits are for. Like it's, yeah, I need more.
okay, so we'll give a second here for Ray to see if he'll go a little bit deeper on that so you can provide a response to what he has mentioned since he's now watching on YouTube. Let's see if Ray gives us some more intel so you can respond to that. So that is good. And thanks for making yourself available to come back on. I appreciate that. Let's see if he's typing anything out. And resend. But we'll give it a few moments and see if Ray has anything. Well, while we are waiting for hopefully Ray's further, as always, so let's do. Oh, I think he did put something in. Okay. He said that should be couple. I don't understand that.
Okay. So I'm going to go based on what I know the government says of couples accessing disability benefits.
Okay.
So it works with who is the disabled person in the benefit unit. It's their words, not mine. I'm repeating them as best as I can. So if there's a non-disabled couple, the non-disabled person's income takes care of the entire household. So for the person with the disability. So like Ontario says, the non-disabled person makes over $200. Anything above $200, their income reduces the family household's disability benefit. And those numbers, I have a spreadsheet. Hold on. I should have had this open from the beginning. So what it is with the Ontario Disability Program, so a couple gets $1,960 for Ontario. So and then if there's a child, they get $2,165.91. Then there's two children, they get $2,379.82. And this is 82 cents. Like it actually, like the government doesn't, it's everything to the penny with the government. So with the disabled couple, if they're both unable to work, they're capped at $2,205 for Ontario Disability Program.
Let me respectfully interrupt you. Ray says disabled couple. My apologies. Yeah.
So if we're both spouse are disabled, their ODSP income is capped at $2,205. They're supposed to figure out how to live their entire lives together as a couple on that amount of money. Ouch. When average rent for a one bedroom, because I've seen couples in my building live in the junior one bedroom, is $2,000 and up. Then we have to have tenant insurance to live here. And this is market rent. This is assuming that the couple is not living in Toronto housing or another government housing program for Ontario. And then groceries and transportation. This is why there's so many extra lineups at the food bank. Because depending on what their income is, like food banks typically know a good chunk of their receivers that are receiving the food bank amounts are on ODSP. Because you go into a food bank and you show them your income, you show them your pay stubs. And then they tell you how many times based on how many people in your family you can come visit. And then the reason why all these organizations are offering honorariums and gift cards, they're prepaying your groceries a lot, or they use the everything gift card where you get to choose what store you want your gift card to be. So they've already bought my $100 worth of PC Financial when they give me a gift card versus giving me $100. So if I'm behind on a bill, I can try to get caught up. Or I put my $100 in my PC Financial money card, and every time I spend from that card, I get PC Optimum points. Like my last grocery shopping, I had $30 worth of PC Optimum points, and I lowered my bill. So with couples, and they're both disabled, they're both going down with the ship together. And if they're a toxic relationship or an abusive relationship, and because they don't want to give up if they're in Toronto housing, or they don't want to give up the benefits they have together as a couple, they stay together longer. So it's a ripple effect for a lot of things. This is why there's so many separations of organizations like help, like Barbara Sharfer Clinic helps people that experience domestic violence and other organizations like that. And if they're a couple on assistance, yeah, you're being pulled down by the couple because either you are disabled or you're both disabled. And then if you both don't have the drive to make money, yeah, one mindset is already difficult to deal with, but having both mindsets that believe that little man can't get ahead, only a certain part of 1% can get rich, and nobody is doing anything to actually bring in more income into the household, they both go down at the same time. And depending on what the disability is. So like my substance habit was influenced by the person I was dating. It wasn't a natural substance habit for me. It was influenced by the person I was with because I wanted them to like me. Our self-esteem is different. Things we do to feel validated are different. So the whole couple environment, it's me plus another person who thinks the same, if they think the same. And if they don't think the same, their mindset brings me, depending on how long that mindset is being influenced in the environment, I change to accommodate them, and then we become as one.
All right. That's it. You've done enough today. I'm kicking you to get some rest. Bye. I just kicking her to get some rest. She's put out a lot of energy today, so I want to just call it a day. All right. So let's get to it. Let's do our final stuff. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. To advertise your business product or service on any of the platforms that I'm on, feel free to email me, dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. And then join our Discord group where we keep the conversation going on in between episodes of the Morning Vibe. And as always, you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network on Facebook, and Ryan O'Neill Knight on YouTube. So, what are you guys up to for the weekend? We'll be back with you on Monday on the Morning Vibe, but in between, tomorrow night, Saturday night at 7 p.m., Primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala. More intel on the upcoming American presidential election. And then on Sunday, Black Canada Talking. Probably be a replay, but we'll see. But we are always on and doing it. Final comments. Minnie on Cam says $2,205, couple both disabled. Thank you, Minnie on Cam. All right. So as always, we closed out with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember, just don't manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. Actually, at the conference I was at yesterday, I said that to someone. They go, "What do you mean by that?" And I say, well, most people want to manage their time. I got to manage my time. I got to manage my time. Oh, look at this. Fitness IQ Cam was, hey. And she goes, November 2nd is her 200th episode. Be there. Who's going to be the guest on your 200th episode? Just like to know. All right. So getting back to they say, what do you mean by don't just manage your time, manage your energy? And I said, well, lots of people say I got to manage my time, but we should also look at managing our energy. Because if you're not managing your energy, your time isn't going to be well spent. God bless. Peace to all. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll see you.